All right, good evening, it is. All right, there we go. Good evening, it is July 8th at 6:31 p.m. And we'll go ahead and call them to order and the roll call is on.
Counselor Source.
Present.
Counselor Roden. Here. Counselor Waller.
Here.
Counselor Martin Willis.
Here.
Counselor Morton.
Here.
Counselor Moore.
Here. All right, so we have our meeting minutes from our last regular meeting on June 10th.
I move to approve the minutes as received.
Second. Any questions, comments? All right, we'll go ahead and do roll call.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Counselor Morton.
Aye.
Counselor Martin Willis.
Here.
Counselor Waller.
Aye.
Counselor Roden.
Aye.
Counselor Source.
Aye.
We're out of practice, I see. All right, thank you. We do have some visitor and public comments today. I'm gonna call these in order. Just as a reminder, so I do want to remind people that public comments are very important to our process, but this is not a dialogue or debate. Council does not respond at this time. You are given, I believe, 3 minutes for public comment period. And first up, I would like to call Terry Pierce, please. And for the record, when you get to the podium, could you please just state your name and address?
My name is Terry Pierce. I live at 845 South 3rd Street here in town.
Thank you so much.
I was here at the last meeting to talk about opening a store. I read you guys things that I pulled off of the internet. I was told I could open a store, I quit my job. Then I was told I could not. Then I was told I can't open it because I don't have a restroom. I would like to read you a couple things that I pulled off the internet. One sentence. No specific requirement. Knowing in Independence, Oregon, there is no specific requirement for having a restroom in your business. However, it is essential to follow any local regulations or health and safety requirements that may apply to your particular situation. In Independence, Oregon, businesses are generally required to provide restroom facilities for employees. Federal laws, including OSHA bathroom requirements, ensure proper restroom facilities to protect employee health and safety. The number of restrooms needed may vary based on the number of customers. However, the restroom is not for public use, it may not be required. I have no employees. I have customers, yes. There's bathrooms right down the street. And guys, you would get a hold of me, it's been 4 weeks. Yes, I did open over 4th of July because I've already missed Memorial Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day. So I would like to know why now you won't let me open the store.
Actually,
I don't understand the delay in this.
Well, so actually, I wrote your voicemail last week.
I didn't get anything.
Maybe
I waited for a phone call, I waited for mail, and I received nothing
okay.
in 4 weeks.
Then I will be happy to give you a call tomorrow morning. We can talk about it again.
Well, you can't explain to me what the deal is when I'm not required to have a restroom, why I can't open?
Well, yeah, so for council, the issue here is the owner of the building signed a voluntary abandonment of service several years ago, essentially requesting that the city remove service from the building. That means there's no water or no sewer service. Our city code, the plumbing code actually requires that every plumbing fixture or device shall be properly connected to an approved water and sewer system. And then it also requires that in every structure, all required plumbing or plumbing fixtures shall be properly installed, connected, maintained in good working order, free of obstructions, capable of performing the function for which they're designed. Our municipal code does not allow a building the design of city services to be occupied. And you know, that's unfortunately black and white.
So you won't let us dig up the main street because it's a state highway, I understand, and it's gonna cost $80,000 from what I've heard to fix it. So you want just an empty building there for, oh, it caves in, or what's the?
So we are always happy to work with folks who want to make renovations to downtown buildings or any building in the community. It is possible to go the main street and redo the sewer lateral. The other issue is the sewer lateral is apparently collapsed or otherwise plugged. Although, to be determined, I guess, the exact situation, but, we are willing to work with anybody who wants to, make renovations to that building. We're also willing to work with, in terms of, temporary porta potties, that type of thing on site for that type of purpose. But as I said, right now, the owner requested the services be abandoned in that property. And that is a fundamental problem according to our code.
And Mr. Irvine, I understand this does need the cooperation and approval of the building owner, not just the business owner.
I mean, to restore service, yes, the owner would need to request the service to be restored.
The owner has dementia. She's living with her brother. He wants the stuff out of her building in case she dies so he can sell the building. That's what I'm trying to do, is get rid of the stuff in the building for that.
And it sounds like we have a path forward for Mr. Irvine to follow up with you tomorrow morning, to help talk through more of these issues.
Okay, why does the paper still say that a business is not required to have a restroom?
I will have to discuss that tomorrow and see where you got that information.
I have not one. I looked online, I looked up, is there a restroom required in the city of Independence, Oregon? That's what I know.
So this
No,
is not
required.
this is not the time and the place for the back and forth dialogue. This is a time for.
Well, it's been 4 weeks.
And
I've
Mr.
got
Irvine
nothing from
has
you guys.
indicated that he has tried to email you and he will follow up with you tomorrow morning with a phone call.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
He doesn't get a hold of me and I will help you.
Out of process. Council Rose, thank you so much for your comments.
Guys talk for each other?
Council Roden, a reminder to follow procedure, please. Next up, we have Catherine Rosenthal. Catherine, thank you, sorry.
Met with you last Wednesday.
And for the record, could you state your name and address?
Yes, Katerina Rosenfeld, that was short. 1401 East Street in Kenneth, Oregon. I met with you last Wednesday and you said you'd get back to me and
Yes.
I also have contacted Kenna West with my concerns and I haven't heard anything back from her. And I've emailed back and forth to the police a number of times, and I need some help. I have been probating my mother's estate. She put me second in the will to do that for her. And then I also am writing a book, and I have a 13-year-old granddaughter who lives with me and needs to be able to use a computer for school. Coming up this next year. And I've had a hacker on my computer since that I know of since last May, a year ago May. He's my half brother. He stole the entire estate. He's a highly intelligent person, and he's vice president of a cybersecurity company that does cybersecurity for Bank of America, Google, and Boeing, according to what he told us at one of my mother's birthday parties. So he's very skilled, he knows all the Trojans and malware that are out there. I went back to school when I was 50 for 8 years, and the first thing I had to do was take a lot of computer classes, because I didn't have a computer when I was in high school, or when I went to 11, but out of high school. So I did actually take coding classes, but I've forgotten it promptly because I haven't used it. It's, when I read a report on computers, I can understand it because of the classes that I've taken. When I was writing an exhibits list for the Polk County Court for my mother's estate, the letters, this was on a Mac at home, and the letters started disappearing off the page. And then some little rectangles formed across the page, and then the letters started typing themselves. So I knew somebody had hacked my computer. With the letters that were typed, it said attorney for Daniel Jocelyn has filed the motion. It named the attorney as well, has filed a motion to strike. I took a picture of that with my phone. I went to the Independence Public Library, wrote the exhibits list there instead, brought it to the court, and I ran into Aaron Melton in the next day in the hallway. I was delivering this, and I showed him a picture of my phone. I explained what was going on. I told him about a couple of texts that one of the other did this, my other brother in Nebraska had received that were taunting and, something that maybe a teenager that was troubled would write. One to my brother, I got one, I told him about those texts. And he told me that I needed to start with Independence Police to investigate this. So I went to the former chief, Mason, Robert Mason, and he took it as if I were making it up. I showed him the picture, when I opened that Mac 2 weeks later, my half brother, who is the vice president of the cybersecurity company, had put his own image in the middle of the page that he initially attacked. And he had taken all the exhibits that I had at the bottom, across the bottom of the screen of the Mac, and found them up against the screen and numbered each one of them. So,
We're at time.
okay,
So just
to conclude, I have met with your new chief. He's a very good listener. He listened very carefully. And then I went back and asked for the police reports from my initial meeting. And I noted on the bottom that it said that I was delusional. And I don't have any mental health problems. I never have. When I went back to OSU for those 8 years, I got straight.
we're at time and we do enforce the time policy.
Okay, well,
So
I guess I should say that I'm considering, met with the FBI last week on the 18th. And they told me to come back and try once more to get an agency request from the Independence Police to the state police. It has to be worded exactly the way the FBI said to word it. It has to be an agency assist request that they investigate.
So we can, so a couple of things, Kenna West and I did consult with each other on this, and we know that, you contacted both of us. We have also looped in Chief Ben Wells to this. If, as far as what council and the mayor can do, it really is a civil matter. You're following the proper channels by going through the police department, and it sounds like they have been able to get you in touch with some services.
No,
In
they
terms
haven't.
of getting you in touch with the FBI and maybe some other.
No, I went to the FBI before I came here. And also, I noticed on the bottom of the report, it said that I was delusional. That it was okay by, I don't know what position you had then, maybe captain or sergeant or something, but you actually didn't bring that up with me, but you were the one that okayed that.
Right.
And somehow said that somebody that was asking you for help was delusional, because maybe you didn't have an understanding of hacking. But this is this is defamation that then goes to the state police and then goes to the FBI and makes it so that.
Carrie, everything else, we need to end your.
Okay, well, I wanna let you know that the other thing that I could do, because the FBI told me to come back. Is to. You know, go
We
through the court
need to
system
have
for
you
the
stop your
police.
public commentary, thank you.
Okay, well, I started writing.
We need to have you stop your public commentary, we do have a time limit that we
Okay,
enforce.
I just want to let you know that I'd like to contact maybe or talk to one of you that does have some knowledge of hacking, because I'm not gonna make something like this up. And I have proof of everything. And the next step,
Karen, we
if
need to
don't
ask
help
you
me,
to please stop the public
I
commentary.
am going to stop the public commentary, but I'm giving you notice that I'm filing a federal court case for defamation and for not helping me with this if you don't help me with this. Because it's where Aaron Felton said I needed to go and the FBI said I needed to go, and you're not doing anything.
Thank you, we have your comment, we have your contact information, thank you. All right, next up, we have Vicky McCubbin.
Good evening, Mayor Kate, City Council, City Manager, and wonderful city staff. My name is Vicky McCubbin, and I live on 724 Cessna Street in Independence, where I'm delighted to have a responsive and competent public works department. Let me tell you how I know they are the best. I recently went a few rounds with my sprinkler system, and I lost. I couldn't tell you what I did wrong, but I can tell you that I had water flowing out of the system onto the street from my yard. I tried reaching into the well of water to reach the valve to turn the system on, but I had no luck. I also didn't know how to find the shut-off valve for the water to my house. I was covered in mud and up to my elbows in water and getting nowhere. My husband was in Corvallis and my brother, who usually bails me out, pun intended, is in Alaska commercial fishing for the summer, so I had no one to call. In desperation, I called city and was reassured to hear Niley's voice on the line responding to my frantic call with a calm voice telling me she would let Public Works know I was having an emergency and they would be out. In less than half an hour, I was relieved to see the familiar white Public Works truck come down my street. Matt, I'm sorry, I don't know his last name, but he's my new hero, quickly rolled up his sleeves and plunged his arm into the cold water to turn off the valve to my house. Should I know how to do that? Yes. Did I? No. But I now do because Matt explained it to me without admonishment or frustration with me because I had needed his assistance. We have an amazing public works department who, along with other city staff, only hear from the community when things are going wrong. So I just wanted to say thanks to Matt and Niley and all the amazing people who work for the City of Independence as staff members, counselors, and mayor. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have our reports and presentation. Mine is going to be very quick and very brief. We had a little thing called 4th of July this last weekend, and I just want to say thank you to all of the volunteers and organizations who made that happen. I know it's a lot of work, and a lot of people that come together and make sure it's coordinated between Monmouth and Independence, and the Rotary plays a significant role with the parade, and it was a very happy 4th of July, and I hope everyone else had a happy and safe 4th, and just a big thank you to everyone who made that happen. I know city staff, it's not just the event itself, but it's a lot of work leading up to it and also after, so thank you all to that. And we will move on to council liaison reports and starting with Councilor Source for Monday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my event met. My board of directors met June 25th, 5 to 6:30 p.m. And we had our open budget hearing. And there was robust conversation from members of the committee. And we approved the budgets and heard updates from each of the staff members. And what I could say is I'm gonna reiterate what I said in a previous meeting. I'm really impressed with the turnaround of Minets. They're fully on schedule to pay their bills to the cities, and they actually have roughly about a 8% revenue. So not only are they meeting their needs, but they're making money. They gave a great presentation about their expansion efforts in South Dallas to Polk County. And everything seems to be going pretty well. So I would just like us to reiterate to the mayor and our city manager, maybe we can have a presentation from Minnet to the council about their budget, what's going on, and have a little conversation back and forth about payments to the city, because I know that's been brought up. So thank you, Mayor, and I yield back.
Great, thank you so much, that is good news. And next up is Councilor Roden with the Parks Board.
Yeah, I attended my first meeting of the Parks and Recreation Board. It was very insightful. One thing that I think is pretty amazing is they started the Michael Carnes wetland signage project. So if you walk down around the sports park, you'll see some signage about that man, and how much work he actually did for our community is amazing. He and I were not always on the same page, but he was a good man that could have conversations with anybody, regardless of their political affiliation. I just thought that was great for him to have. After that, they went on to discuss the master plan for the parks, and that's where I was surprised at what was going on with the parks plan and shocked at what is actually not happening. So we have 3 companies that we've hired, all from Portland, to develop this master plan. Greenworks, Keller Associates, and a company called MIG. Their stance is that they want to find equity for our parks and independence. They've been in our town for 1 day and their study has not been accurate. They didn't even know that Sunset Meadows had been complete. All they've done so far, and we're halfway through the project, is tell us what is located in our parks currently, nothing about any plans for the future or what we're going to be doing with our parks. The master plan, they said, will only focus on current parks, no pool, no sports park development, no new parks. I feel it's a 20-year master plan failure. Again, we're halfway through this project. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. We haven't even really started the master plan. They said that also that their plan will reflect what is practical with current funding, which I think is a little crazy with the lack of funding we have in our community right now with master plans. I think a master plan should be a goal and ideal that our community looks to the future for, so that we can plan for it, not that we look at what our current funding is and do nothing to develop a master plan except for equity in the parks. We have small surveys and a small survey sample size where at least some people voted multiple times. The complaint is that people aren't responding to the surveys and that people don't see the news like library anymore to participate in these things. But again, I can see why people would be frustrated when there are no plans for development, no plans for the pool that people want, no plans for any future other than the funding we have right now. That's pretty disappointing with me.
Thank you. Next up, Councilor Boulware for Indy Bays Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. We met for the second time yesterday to do a ad hoc commission for the Independence Days. Our next meeting will be on 25 August, and we will be asking for an extension. We are meeting with full local people to take over the event next year. Overall, though, the 4th of July celebration, as you mentioned, was an overwhelming success. And just wanted to thank the staff and volunteers. There's primarily 11 people on that committee: Courtney Williams, Myra Russell, Aaron Weimer, Lyle Gilbert, Andrew Heeswick, Van Heeswick, Fidel Pena, Karen Johnson, Emmanuel Gopcheka, Lisa Cox, Nathan Jr., and Gavin Walton. Just want to say thank you for all the hard work they've done. We talked with the police. Gilbert, Lieutenant Gilbert was there. He had said that this year there were no arrests and that it was very, very few incidents. And it was one of the best events from a police standpoint. We also had a carnival there this year, and they had reported that this was their best event as well from all the times that they've come in the past. So that was really great. The pre-sales were high. We had 50 vendors and 200 ducks were released into the limit. I think all of them, but 3 were recovered. And just a preliminary kind of numbers thing, we raised over $200,000. And so that was a really great event. And lastly, I just wanted to emphasize that looking forward to next year, Independence Days is not going away. I just want to remind the public that we're just simply seeking community organizations who can take over the management of that. And that we encourage members of the community to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the ducks were a lot of fun too. Well, come down. I think I want to sponsor the Donlin Duck Prize next year for the last duck across the line. All right, we have no unfinished business, so sure, then I'll pass it over to you for new business.
Rob, actually, that's the first item. We're going to take that for you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Just quickly, what we have before you tonight is a action item to correct a Scrivener's error in resolution number 25-1635, which was your resolution to adopt the budget for 2025-26. In the first paragraph of that resolution, there was a number. That number was carried forward from last year. It was a cut and paste type of error. We apologize for that. The amounts that were shown in the table and in the totals for that resolution were correct, so we are in compliance with Oregon local budget law. But we need to bring this back to you just to make sure that the overall resolution is correct. So we're asking you to approve the revised resolution 25-1635 that corrects that error. I'd be happy to take questions from council.
All right,
I move to approve the revised resolution number 25-1635, correcting the scrivener's error in the total sum of the budget adopted for fiscal year 2025-26.
motion by Core,
Second.
second by Councilor Martin Willis. Any further discussion? Comments, Councilor Rowan?
Yeah, I just want to say that I will be voting against this again, for the same reasons I voted against the budget to begin with, even though there was error in it. I just don't want anybody to feel like I'm improving the budget at this time. I feel like, again, we should have looked at funding to fully fund our library and not close it. We should have looked at funding for our parks. We should have looked at funding, most importantly, for our police department. Again, when the chief of police comes to us and says that staff is overworked and tired and we need more help in the police department, we should have listened. So that's why I'm.
Councilor Core?
Chief Manuels came to us with a budget that he felt would satisfy his needs. I don't think we need to second guess the person who's closest to the problem. The fact that folks are overworked is a result of staffing that we're addressing through the public safety fee.
Thank you. Any further commentary? We will do a roll call.
Councilor Source.
Aye.
Councilor Rowan.
Nay.
Councilor Wahler.
Aye.
Councilor Martin Willis.
Aye.
Councilor Norton.
Aye.
Councilor Core.
Aye.
All right.
Now I believe we have Fred, talk annexation.
That's correct. So what this, hi there, everybody. My name's Fred Evander. I'm the city planner here at the Independence. And what this agenda item would do is to set a date for a public hearing for an annexation of a portion of a rail right of way, the majority of which the city previously annexed. It's the old Inman Polson Timber Company rail line that the city acquired in 2005 and 2009. The city annexed a portion along the Willamette River. This annexation, which you would consider potentially, if you elect to go forward with annexation, you would consider it on August 12th. It would annex the relatively small portion, and it looks like it's on page 15 of the packet, Myron, of land. You keep on scrolling down, you can see right there, sort of that image showing where the proposed annexation would occur. And the next page, Ira, you can see sort of it's a 50-foot wide strip going across that portion from Corvallis Road to the railroad line. So what this would do is show your agreement to set a date for that public hearing to consider an annexation and a rezone for the property. That's basically it. Are there any questions?
Yes. The railroad had abandoned that piece of track already.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, that was how the city.
Okay, the reason I asked is because I remember another piece of track that was found at one time down by the gravel company that we had to pay for, but if they'd abandoned it, then that's not an issue. Thank you.
It's just an old gravel essentially.
Okay, good.
Just a request, Mr. Evander, can you use a darker font, these staff summaries, it's really hard to read on.
Yes, I don't know what happened with this, and I apologize. Next time I will be sure that this does not happen.
Do you anticipate any objection to this annexation?
Potentially, yeah, potentially. potentially, you never know when you send out public notice to folks who's going to object to an annexation. So, so yeah,
But nothing specific.
I think so.
And that's why we have a public hearing.
That's exactly right.
Alright, any further questions? To be an action item?
I move to approve resolution 25-1636. A resolution to initiate the annexation and rezone of city-owned land. Set a date for a public hearing on the matter for August 12th, 2025, and direct staff to provide appropriate notice for the hearing.
We have a motion by Councilor Morton and a second by Councilor Source. Any further commentary? To roll call?
Counselor Ford,
Aye.
Counselor Morton,
Aye.
Counselor Martin Lewis,
Aye.
Counselor Walker,
Aye.
Counselor Moon,
Aye.
Counselor Schwartz.
Thank you. Next up, we do have a board appointment.
Yeah, as you recall, we've switched the board appointment process a little bit to where, we kind of are always open and advertising positions, but we're kind of batching applications on a quarterly basis. So we're now at the next quarterly opportunity to fill positions. It looks like we've only got one application for the Heritage Museum Board. It does have an applicant, and you see their information in front of you, and turn it over to you.
Alright, yes, we do have an applicant that came in, he has served prior on the museum boards. I'm happy to take any questions people may have.
I move that we deny this application because it is complete.
Other questions, comments? Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion dies.
I move to accept the mayor's appointment to the Heritage Museum Board.
We have a second.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilor Corr, second by Councilor Martin Willis. Any further commentary? Councilor Source.
I do think in the future, if we can have staff follow up with folks who don't fully complete applications, it might be helpful. I am sympathetic to the my colleague's motion. Based on the fact that they didn't fill out the community development experience conversation. They kind of answered it in other ways, so I'm gonna vote in support of this, but in the future, if we could just make sure we follow the opportunity, or maybe invite them to council to answer questions, I think it just would be helpful.
I agree.
And I disagree, I think, they didn't answer it in other questions, or I wouldn't have brought it up. They didn't answer questions 1, 3, 5, and they were very, very vague on the other ones. I think if someone brings forth an application and is incomplete, then how are we supposed to judge it fairly compared to any other thing? If they would have put none there, then we would know that they had no experience, but just to leave it blank, I have no idea what their background is, or what they can contribute to this board.
I do appreciate that he has previously served on this advisory committee, and I agree that if it had been another committee that he was wanting to serve on, this would be.
And it would have been helpful if we had a copy of that original application. Because this gentleman has served on the museum board before and had to step off. But that would have probably allayed any concerns about incomplete.
Well, and I'd just like to point out that referencing that question number 5, that is specific to the budget committee, and he's not applying to the budget.
Alright, any further questions or commentary? We need to vote.
Counselor Schwartz,
Aye.
Counselor Martin, opposed, Counselor Walker,
Aye.
Counselor Martin Willis,
Aye.
Counselor Morton,
Aye.
Counselor Corr.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next item on the list is to have the solicitation for realtors.
Yeah, thank you. So as y'all know, the budget that was passed anticipated the sale of the museum building as well as at least one park property. This is essentially a question of how you'd like to proceed with listing those properties and making that happen. I've outlined the full, sale process in your packets as far as what that, kind of all the different steps involved in there, and there is a decent number. But to begin with, we need to decide whether we're gonna try to handle this in-house or whether we're gonna hire a realtor to list the properties and help with the transactions. And as you'll see with the staff report, we're recommending that we do bring on a realtor. It's their business, they know what they're doing, they can provide better exposure for the properties. Then also particularly with, when it comes time to negotiate a deal, they know, they're familiar with different ways to structure deals, and make things work, so. We think on the balance, it's worth, the cost of realtor's fee, which, ideally will get incorporated into the sale price of the property. To bring on this expertise to help us, but the question is, to you all.
Normally we handle realty stuff in special sessions, executive sessions. This is the first time I'm seeing this happen, so I'm assuming this is how we do this part of it, and then latter part of it will be done in executive sessions.
Exactly, so in this case, you're determining, how do we list the property, so you're not actually considering a deal on the property, if and when an offer comes in on a property. Regardless of whether staff are handling it internally or whether there's a realtor, then council would discuss that with staff in executive session. And then, if, essentially if we felt like we're at a place to potentially accept it, then we would move to open session, have a public hearing. Discuss the deal in public session, allow opportunity for others to present a better deal if they so desire. And then council would vote on whether to accept the deal or not.
And is there a timeline on this that we want to be able to establish selection of a realtor, or is that based on additional action that has to come after this first
No,
motion?
the selection of the realtor can happen at a staff level, so essentially we're just asking you if you want to do this, and then we will handle it. We will move expeditiously because it is programmed into the budget, so we wanna maximize the period of time when we're able to potentially sell those properties and still hit this budget cycle.
How does staff handle potential conflicts of interest with realtors?
In terms of,
If they were on city council or married to city council?
I think, realistically, as with everything, you would have people declare potential or actual conflicts of interest. I think that's really the way we would handle it. And then, if anything, I think it would be more of an issue for council when the decision comes that they would have a connection to the realtor who would potentially be making money on the sale, so that is probably the more likely issue.
Follow up on that. Thank you. Is there gonna be an RFP process?
Yes, it'll be scaled down, not like, what a typical RFP process would be, but yes, we are gonna do a yes.
So we don't have a realtor of record.
Correct, we do not.
And for this particular case, so we are focused on a realtor that has commercial
Yes,
real estate.
yes, we're looking specifically for a commercial realtor.
I'd just like to state for the record that I do have a license for real estate. My wife and myself obviously will not be throwing our hats in the ring for this particular thing. But I do want to say that having a realtor is an important step in that process to make sure that everything is legally done correctly and that you get the most value.
Just, if I may too, just for the sake of transparency, my wife is a licensed realtor and she will not be applying for the opportunity. I guess I should ask that for that permission to say that, we're not gonna apply, but just for the record, spouse it.
Right, any further questions?
I move that the council authorize staff to retain a realtor of record to support the city's property disposition efforts in accordance with the city policies and at the discretion of the city manager.
Second. So we have a first by Council Roden and a second by Council Martin Willis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, with that, we'll do roll call. Council Source.
Aye.
Council Roden.
Aye.
Council Blauer.
Aye.
Council Martin Willis.
Aye.
Council Martin.
Aye.
Council Court.
Aye.
Alright, thank you.
Recommend, there's one more tangentially related thing with this, that I just wanted to kind of float out to you. There's some things that are being coalesced around the pool property in the Henry Hill area in terms of potential partners interested in doing something together. We're gonna be planning a short work session to talk about it at the April 12th council meeting. But I just wanted to give you.
August
Well, sorry, August.
Plan it way ahead.
Good luck with that. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of just give you a preview to take your temperature a little bit about the possibility of potentially taking the full property, not necessarily off the sale list, but saying, you know, let's maybe hold off for a year on listing the pool property to give things a chance to develop and see if they're going anywhere. And then that way, after a year, you know, if things have not developed, we can always, you know, come back and put it back on the list. And I don't need a formal decision because like I said, we'll be talking about this at the August 12th council meeting. But just kind of wanted to get a, you know, smiles, frowns, nods type of a.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah, we like to see that.
Great, thank you.
Alright. Thank you. Next up, do we have any council announcements?
I just wanna reiterate the city council summer reading program challenge. We're in the thick of things now. You got till August 15th to finish your last book, and count it. Mr. Moody, we hold up that book that I loaned. This is the book that I think every city councilor, every city staff member should read, Performative Outrage. Can you read the bottom line? I can't read it here.
Looks pretty thin.
Yeah, you understand, it's only 90 pages long.
The title of the book is Performative Outrage: How Manufactured Fury Undermines Local Government and Public Service.
It's written by a gentleman named Brooks Williams, who is the city manager in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's a PhD doctoral candidate. I share a lot of his posts from LinkedIn on other social media platforms. He has a great insight into municipal government and public service. And I finished it this afternoon and found a lot of useful stuff in there. So I think if every city councilman has an opportunity to read it, they should do that. And you're welcome to borrow it after Mr. Moody's done.
And if that's our one book this summer.
That's the best book.
Just
saying.
I want you to know I logged 12 books
Oh,
at the
gosh.
start.
I was proud of 6. Killing me.
We still haven't told August.
I have an announcement. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, as the city manager shared with council and some members of the community might have heard, there was some posters in our community left by an individual or individuals that encouraged members of our community to call ICE on our neighbors. And I wanna say from this dais that I don't think that behavior is acceptable. We are a welcoming community. We wanna make sure that our neighbors and our community members feel safe to walk down the street, and that kind of behavior, in my opinion, is disgusting. And it should not be accepted in this community, so I just need to say that.
I've only read 4 books.
You're happy.
Don't be shy.
Work harder.
The point is to read, it doesn't matter how many, although it does really matter.
Okay, I just wanted to make 2 announcements. One, we're still looking for volunteers for the Wall of Heels. So if you haven't volunteered for that, please go out and do that. We're still looking for volunteers. And if we're not gonna go over the letters that are in the back of the packet, I just wanted to go over the case file that's in the back of the packet. And not in specifically, but I think things in council chambers could be a lot more civil if we wouldn't alienate local reporters or alienate people who maybe just don't have the same opinion that we do or that we have. I think it's always good to be kind to people, but just to make a stance that you're not gonna engage or talk to somebody because you don't like how they report, I think causes maybe friction that shouldn't have to be there in the first place. So if we just keep it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to have a difference of opinion, we can still get civil in it. I know Councilor Hoover and I sometimes bump heads with each other, and I wish her the best every single time we leave this chambers, even if we have a difference of opinion on something. And I think just because Anne may have a difference of opinion on some of us, that doesn't mean we can't communicate with our local. And I think that would be respectful, so.
Two things, first of all, the Independence Heritage Festival is coming up on the 20th of September. There is still room for about a half a dozen vendors. If anybody knows someone who is interested in doing that kind of thing, or if you are yourself and the vendor fee is $40. We are trying to not compete with local restaurants in having similar type food vendors on the street. We'd like people to use our businesses first before they go to the park. So we are concentrating on arts and crafts and interesting, not so much information, but just interesting exploration of things that we maybe haven't had a chance to see before. And also, thank you, Councilor Road, for saying something again about the Wall of Heels. On the 17th of September, the final entry route for the Wall that Heals has been established. It will lead from the National Guard parking lot at the fairgrounds. We will be sending out postcards to every single business. By the way, there are 368 of them on the route all the way through parts of Salem, across to Dallas, in through Monmouth, and then in through Independence down to the sports park. And that will take place over about a 2-hour period, probably noon to 2-ish. On the 17th of September, I have that same problem. The 17th of September, and I would encourage people to tell friends and neighbors about it so they can get out on the street and wave at the convoy and the motorcycle motorcade that will be accompanying them.
Just one more thing, Madam Mayor, since you brought up the stuff in the back of the packet. There was a email from a woman in Walport, Oregon, who talked about the Osprey. I'd like that to be an issue that we discuss at the next Indie Days ad hoc committee. That'd be all right.
I do one more. So, I know this isn't Monmouth, but there'll be Independence residents participating. So the Apple Box Children's Theater is excited to announce their upcoming performance of the Magic Flute, a non-singing adaptation of the Mozart opera by Stephen Faulkner. Performances are at Western Oregon University outdoor stage next to Rice Auditorium, July 10th through 12th, 6 p.m.
Non-singing,
Non-singing.
it's gonna be rap.
I know what that means. Bunch of Central High School students are participating, as well as Western Oregon University students, and I've been watching them as I'm leaving from work. I'm watching them rehearse. Looks pretty cool. So encourage you all to go out.
Rich Forsberg, if I may. I just wanted to add on to Councilor Morton's comments. I would also encourage folks to come down and spend some time at the wall. I'm of a generation that remembers the war in Vietnam. My father's a veteran of both Korea and Vietnam and did not come home to a pleasant welcome home. So there will be some wonderful educational opportunities down at the wall. So I would encourage y'all to come who are of my generation and bring some younger folks.
Just one. But
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too am in the only 4 book club, but my books were much larger than.
Caltrans is offered to keep a page count.
yeah.
Okay, that might be better. I too have volunteered for the Wall of Heels. I've signed up for a 24-hour period, so.
Wow.
Just not consecutive. I would like to say also that I'm proud to say that my son Fisher Boisvert has decided to serve the community by joining the Independence Police Department Cadet Program. And for the record, I will not be here at the next meeting on the 22nd. I'll be missed.
I forgot most of the things with you.
Thanks.
I think we should have a six.
I do have a statement that I would like to make just regarding some of the correspondence in the back of the packet. So I'd like to clarify this for the record. This is not about wanting or needing only positive coverage by the press. Our staff members acted in good faith and challenging and emotional moment. We respected the role of the press, but no one, whether a reporter or not, has the right to demand or force staff or elected officials to speak with them outside of appropriate channels. Access to public records and meetings is guaranteed by law, and we honor those obligations fully. Our staff and officials are entitled to work in an environment that is safe and professional. No member of the public, including members of the press, has the right to demand or force staff or officials to answer their questions outside of those type of processes. I do want to make note that we did recently speak with Bill Pollard of the Statesman Journal. We're used to having to answer difficult questions. And I believe that we are doing that with transparency in our community, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
Move to adjourn.
Adjourn. All right, 7:20. 21, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
We have the URA.
Pardon?
We have the URA. The previous real part of the URA.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Bill's coming back.
Bye bye, guys.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good one.
An index.
I know, he's like, I'm out of here, I'm going to Mexico.
It was a good picture, not bad.
Please be patient.
Yes.
I know, that would be cool.
The community foundation supported that.
And they also supported the wall. Yes.
And since we're in a tiny hiatus, I just wanted to say that I'm the new liaison to the historic commission. And Fred schooled us the other day.
All right,
You're back on.
all right, we are back on for you, so we're calling to order the URA. Thank you.
Don't need to roll call.
Yes, please.
Councilor Court.
Here.
Councilor Morgan. Here. Councilor Martin Lewis.
Here.
Councilor Claver.
Here.
Councilor Rogers. Here. Councilor Flores.
Here.
All right, sorry, pulling up my agenda here.
Should be off the screen.
Is this also for the solicitation?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
They look just the same.
We're either trying to be in December already or 2 weeks ago. All right, so we do need to approve the regular meeting minutes from our last meeting. Anyone has any questions or comments about that? This is an action item.
I'm about sorting now. They're to approve the minutes of 6/10/2025.
We have a first by Councilor Martin Willis and a second by Councilor Core. Any following questions? All right, do roll call.
Councilor Court.
Aye.
Councilor Morton.
Aye.
Councilor Martin Willis. Aye. Councilor Claver.
Aye.
Councilor Rogers. Aye. Councilor Source.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. I have not seen any visitor or public comments. Or unfinished business, so we will be handing it over to staff.
Yeah, thank you. So I apologize because this is a little bit putting the cart before the horse. We are planning on discussing with the Urban Renewal Agency in August. The Urban Renewal Agency has 3 properties that remain from the Independence Planning Development. And seems like a reasonable thing to discuss what we might do with those and how we might want to approach those things. But since we are soliciting a realtor for the city properties, it seemed to make sense to combine those 2 solicitations. And hire one realtor who could work for both the Urban Renewal Agency and the city. But wanted to ask the Urban Renewal Agency before actually doing that.
All right, any questions?
Sounds like a reasonable plan to me.
I move that the urban renewal district authorize staff to retain a realtor of record to support the district's property disposition efforts in accordance with city policies and at the discretion of the city manager.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Ford, a second by Counselor Martin Willis. Any further questions? And none, we'll roll call.
Board Member Swartz.
Aye.
Board Member Rhodes.
Aye.
Board Member Wabanger.
Aye.
Board Member Martin Willis.
Aye.
Board Member Moore.
Aye.
And Board Member Core.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. And with that,
To adjourn.
second, 7:26.